So you'll be pleased to know we're now starting the last problem in this chapter, 7-70, and this is on page 447 of your textbook. And what we are doing here, we're asked in requirement 1 to calculate break-even, but they want us to do it using the income statement approach. Now you can use either the formula approach that we've just done using the equations, or you can use the income statement approach. And it depends sometimes on the information, the data that you're given in the problem, and sometimes your own personal preference. So either is acceptable, and you'll be marked accordingly on an exam. So here in this problem, we're told that the selling price is $11.50 per unit and the variable cost is $3.90 per unit. Our fixed expenses is $1,045,000. And of course, we're saying operating income is 0 here because, we're looking for break even. So operating income would always be 0. So what we are looking for here, though, we want to know the number sold. So this is what we're looking for, the number sold. So the selling price less your variable cost, that's contribution margin. So contribution margin of $7.50 times the number of units sold. So we are trying to calculate the number of units to break even. So how we do that, it's as you can see here, your 760 times the number of units, that's what we're looking for, equals to 1045 in your fixed cost. So now what we want to do to get X units on one side of your equation, you always want to get your unknown, the factor that you're looking for, on one side of the equation. So to do that, you're going to divide both sides by 760. And we eliminate these two. So the number of units is 1045 divided by 760, and that equals 137,500 cartons. So that's requirement 1. What requirement 2 is asking us to do is to figure out the amount of monthly sales that the company would have to make in order to earn $275,000 in operating profits. So we are starting, now we have a target operating income. So we're looking for target sales in dollars. So what we want to do here is to, first of all, we want, because we're looking for sales in dollars, you remember I said if you want sales in dollars, your denominator has to be in a ratio. So what we need to do now is restate our contribution margin. We had it in dollars. It's $7.60. We want to express that as a percentage. So you're going to divide by your selling price, 760 divided by 1150. That would round out to about 0.66. We need that because it's going down here in our equation in our denominator. So it's fixed expenses plus your target operating income, which is your $275 we're given in the problem, and you're going to divide that by your contribution margin ratio. So that's why we had to take our 760 and turn that into a ratio. So 1320 divided by your 0.66, $2 million. So that is what you would need to have in sales to wind up with an operating profit of $275,000. That's requirement 2. Okay, so we'll move on to requirement 3 in this problem. So what requirement 3 is asking us to do is to prepare a contribution margin income statement if the sales were 460,000 cartons. So here you're just taking your 460, your selling price $11.50, $5,290,000, your cost of goods sold. So here you're given some more information. So in the paragraph there, in the first paragraph in the problem, it's saying of your total variable expenses, 66% of that is cost of goods sold, and the remaining 34% relates to operating expenses. So what we are doing here is we have our $390 in variable, 66% of that is cost of goods sold, and 34% relates to other variable expenses. So our total variable expenses, 1.794, come up with your contribution margin, less your fixed expenses, and that will give you your operating income of $2,451,000. We have requirement 4. They want us to calculate June's margin of safety in dollars as well as the operating leverage. So here you're looking at margin of safety, so you're looking at your actual sales less your sales at break even. So we've already calculated this 137 cartons earlier, so we know you have to sell 137,500 cartons to break even at $11.50. So break even is going to be $1,581,250. So you have a margin of safety of 3.7 million and change. So that's your margin of safety. Very significant amount. And the operating leverage is your contribution margin, which we had calculated above here. So your contribution margin, this is coming from here. So that's where the contribution margin is coming from. We just calculated. And our operating income, same thing, is coming from here. And we're taking it down here. So operating leverage factor is 1.43. And the final part to this problem, part 5, saying what percentage will operating income change if July sales volume is 10% higher? So if you have 1.43, that is your operating leverage, and if you have a 10% increase in sales, so times your 10% increase in sales, that's going to give you 14.3% total increase in your operating income. And you can calculate those numbers, and this calculation, I'm not going to use all of it right now, but this calculation will prove that the 14.3% does actually work. So it's just showing your original volume, increase that by 10%, you're multiplying by the contribution margin, less your fixed cost. You're looking at your new operating income compared to your old operating income. It is in actual fact a 14.3% increase. So the formula does work. Okay, so that concludes problem 7-70B.